Woo, these 12-hour work days are rough, let me tell you. Especially on an old man like me. And we gotta do this till December the 9th. Wow. But it's not every week. We divided the workforce in half. Half works this week, long hours. The other half works next week, long hours. And I happen to be on the first week. But with that stated, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, each and every single one of you. Today, we finally do it. Stay tuned. Again, welcome back to the channel, everybody. So glad each and every one of you can make it. I mentioned this in my yearly update video about projects that's coming and projects I wanted to do, yada, yada, yada. And I said this would probably be coming sooner than expected. Well, I got into doing customs for other people, and I got into doing some for sale. So my projects have been put to the wayside, but I've decided to finally start doing some for me, and that's what started my channel. But to be more specific, one car started my channel. So that's what we're doing. Which one is it? If you didn't see, you don't know, let me get you turned around and show you. It's on this wall right here. Got this wonderful display rack from EJ's Workshop. He has them for sale on eBay. If I can remember, I'll put them in the description box so you can check them out. I would actually like to have a couple more. I just can't afford them right now. But with that stated, my plan was to redo all these except for these four right here. I don't want to redo them. I like the natural patina and everything that's on them because, finding these vintage decals, they're not made. So, and I don't have a way to make them myself currently. So with that stated, the rest of these, the plan was to just come grab one, redo it, right? Make a video about it, put it back up, grab another one, redo it, put it back up, grab another one, so on and so forth. But today, like I said, we're going to attack the one that started the channel. And it happens to be this one. The 1974 Flying Customs or Flying Colors, whatever Target used to call it back then, I forgot. Heavy Chevy. And I really like the way this one looks. It's got a barn find look to it. It used to be 95% red, kid painted, and I did a video on how to take off the red paint to see what color it was originally, and that's how we came down to that color. These cars had no hood, so we don't have to worry about that. Like this one, the Mercedes, actually came with a hood, so when we do that, the hood will have to be replaced. But this one did not come with a hood, so what you get is what you see. So let's get over to the workbench and I'll show you everything we're working with. So here's what we got. Again, you can see the car. It's in relatively good shape considering. I mean, like I said, it's got a nice barn find look to it. But the windshield is so dark. Looks like it's been painted. Doesn't look like it's been painted on the outside though. I don't know. I never tried scraping it to see. But it's definitely painted. Not a lot of bare metal, so we don't have to worry about any discolorization on the paint or on the metal when we take it apart or strip it. I'll walk you through the drilling out process because this is a little bit different drilling. These are smaller. These are going to be 1-72 screws because these are really small posts compared to modern day Hot Wheels. And you can see these have the axles that go through. These do not have bearings. These do not have caps. These have actual wheels with axles. So that's what we have. There's a guy on eBay that I found that sells them. So that's what we got there. We've got the large in the back and the medium up front because these are red lines. So I wanted the red line wheels for it. So we got those. I've got a reproduction windshield from Vince over at Redline, Second Chance Red Lines. As you can see, it's a little flat. I will have to lightly heat it up and bend that back down because I've had it so long. Once I first got this car and started finding parts, that was the first part that I bought. So, sitting like this over time, it has lost its shape. So, I mean, you can sit it out in the sun and gently bend it, or you can use a hair dryer, real low heat, heat it up and bend it and take the heat off of it and let it cool down. When it cools, it'll be back in the shape. And here's the decals that originally came on this car. Turn the car around so you get a better visualization. The top decal will be the decal for the side. And I have the correct yellow paint from the Redline shop. I bought this a long time ago. It took me, geez, over 2 months to get this paint because he said it was shipping. I don't know. He said it was sent the day after I paid for it, which I believe him. He doesn't have any reason to lie to about it. But it took 2 months to get that paint. So as I got things, I just had this larger case. I took everything and put it in there, which is what I'm doing now, because we're going to drill this bad boy apart. So let's get to that. Now again, as you look at this, the posts are a lot smaller. They are. So you're going to need a 1/16. If you're using standard size bits, you're going to need a 1/16 drill bit. But these do not have the mushroom heads like your modern ones do. So what you have to do is locate the center. This one, I've already located it a long time ago to see how easy it was going to be. It's just a hair off. But all you need is a center punch. Now this one is automatic, so all you do is you push down and it will pop it. And I'm fixing to show you exactly what I mean, but I want to get this joker in the center, or as close as I can. Now, it looks like this engine, if you've never done one of these, it looks like this engine is part of it, but it's actually not. There's another post or button head on the bottom side of that I'll show you that you will have to drill out. But you want to get it as close to the center as you can. Now all you do is mash down and it will pop itself. And see, I am way off on that. That's the one thing I do not like about this process. But luckily I'm so far off, and just move it over and redo it. That's all you got to do. But it slid. I hit the same spot. There we go. I got it that time. Do it a couple times, get a nice little divot. Hey, that was my first 2 times. Now I've got it in the middle. And that one's good. On the back one, I can work with it and kind of angle the drill bit to start and then center it. But now that I've got that, do like normal, drill it out. Now, like always, you do not want to go crazy when you first start drilling this out. You want to go just enough to be able to take that button head off, because you do not want to try to go through all that because you don't know what's under there. So I strongly suggest going slow and just do enough, just enough to get to that. And here we go. Oops, sorry, I hit the camera. But go just enough to where you think you can get that button head off. See how I walked that over and got it in the center now? That's what we're looking for. Now once you think you have it deep enough, then you can switch over to your 9/64 drill bit, and that's the same size as the buttons on this. But again, you want to go slow. You don't want to try to do the whole thing at one time. Just let it catch, and it will do all the work. Okay? That is all but gone now. Now let's take a close look at it. Oh yeah, that looks really good. I don't think that I'd be able to get it apart just yet. I think I'm going to have to go down a little bit more with the 9/64s. But that is very, very close. And just like that, look at that. Perfect. Comes right apart. Well, here's the body. Everything looks good. There's no bowing to it. The posts are in good shape. They're not cracked. They're not broke. But we've got to get this engine out. And there's that post I was telling you about. So we're just going to take the same drill bit, same size, 1/16, and lightly go down in it. After we do that, switch back over to the larger 9/64 and go real slow to remove that button head. Don't want to go too much. That should work. This should pop it right out. Yep, popped it right out. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now there's plenty here to drill into, and it's going to be fun trying to hold that and drill, but we'll go real slow and we'll use a new drill bit. But that's all it takes to get that out. Now I'm going to drill this out and get it ready for screws. Alright, I'm just finger tightening these screws. I don't want them in real tight because I don't want to strip the threads out. That gives my helping hand something to grab hold of. I've got some regular screws from Bright Vision that use a small Allen wrench, but these I'm just going to put in. These are Phillips. I like the fact that I can use a regular screwdriver with this because I've always got that handy, but trying to keep up with that daggum Allen wrench, you know how that is. But you know what's next. We've got to get this bad boy in the stripper. And this has been a long time coming. Long time coming. So we're going to watch this go all the way down. But she will not be yellow when she comes back out. That much I do know. Bye-bye 1974 paint. And like that, she's gone. We'll see this tomorrow. I'm actually going to show you with it coming out of the stripper because I want to see how this bad boy's going to look. Well, we just took this beauty out of the stripper, and I mean, she's in great shape to be as old as she is. Now, once I get all this gray stuff off of it, it'll probably look a little different. As typical with, you know, the castings and everything, it'll probably have some pitting and some casting lines that I need to take care of and everything. But one thing I noticed, and I didn't see this when I inspected it before I put it in the stripper. I'm going to get you up here and see if we can see it. Try to get it to focus. There's some lines right there. And I can actually feel those when I run my fingernail over it. I don't know what that's from. It wasn't from me taking it out of the stripper, because as you've seen, I clamped onto the post. I didn't clamp onto any of the body parts or anything. I did not see that in the pre-inspection or even when I got the car, but you know how stuff is. But yeah, we'll have to take care of that because I can feel it. Listen. You can hear my fingernail catching on it as I scrape across it. There's a good shot of it. I don't know what caused that. I'm assuming some kid or whatever, whoever owned it, that painted it that red. But yeah, that's what we got. That's what we're working with. I'm actually amazed that it's in good shape as it is in. As always, I'm going to go over this with the brass bristle brush. That way it knocks out any leftover residue, any leftover paint, anything like that, any residue from the stripper. And it cleans everything up is what it does, what I'm trying to say. It gets everything out of all the cracks and whatnot. And I'm just going to go over it with this for a minute, and then I'll cut. Once I'm done with that, I'll hit where the bumpers go, the body lines are, all that stuff. And once I'm happy with that, I will then go over it with the scouring pad. I normally use steel wool, but I've just been using this. You know, it's right here, handy. I have my steel wool put up in the closet in the drawer, so. But I just go over this, and it scuffs it up just as good as the steel wool, if not better. And it doesn't create such a mess. But when I stripped this thing, I found a dimple and those scratches. So I'm going to mix up some JB Weld. And I'm going to put in the little dimple. And I'm going to put it in the scratches. Screws, duh. I'm going to put it in the scratches. I'm just going to build it up. It doesn't take much. Just a little bit. I take Q-tip, break in half. And I just squeeze out just a little bit. I cut it off with the Q-tip, as you see here. And I take an old medicine bottle and I use the top of that and put it on there. And then I get the second part of the JB Weld and do the same thing and mix it up really good. The trick with JB Weld is it works great, works wonders, but you have to thoroughly mix it. If you don't thoroughly mix it, it's not going to harden properly, and it's just not going to work. But yeah, I cut off another piece of it, and I'm just going to mix it up. It'll turn a gray, a light gray when you're done, as you can see here. And I'm just scraping it off because that's all I need for that. I could do this whole car, this whole roof if I needed to with that little bit. But I'm just going to pack it in here. I'm going to work it a couple different ways. I'm going to roll it in. I'm going to mush it in. Yes, I said mush. And, you know, just work it in everything to where I know that it is packed all the way in. As you can see, I'm just rolling it in a little bit more, making sure that I have it covered and I have it built up. And once I'm satisfied, I'm going to give it a quick look over, and then I will set it over to the side. Now, I've let it dry for 24 hours. So I'm just going to sand it. I'm sanding it with 150 grit sandpaper. I'm going to sand it, and it takes a little while because I'm not using anything real aggressive because I don't want to put a whole bunch of scratches in the car and then have to sand it even more to get rid of those scratches. But look at all the mess that it creates. All this was on that on those couple of little patches. But the body looks good. I can rub my finger over these scratches now, and they're not there. Got the thumbs up. And this dimple, there's no raised part. There's no dimple anymore. Nothing. I can't feel anything. So this patchwork is good, and it'll show in the paint if you don't do it right. Alright, I wanted to show you something about this interior. Now I can't say this is about all of them, because this is the first one of these I have taken apart. But it came nice and clean. Look at that. All I used was a toothbrush and just a little bit of soap and brushed it under the water. Now be careful when you go to doing this, but I'm going to show you something. On this particular one, the dash actually folds down. It snaps in place, but it will fold down. So that's pretty cool. That little tab right there holds it when you flip it up. If yours doesn't do that, be real careful when you're going in here with a toothbrush. You do not want to snap that steering wheel off. Now, if you happen to, you can, and you happen to have a 3D printed one, you can drill it out and put a 3D printed one in. Or you can take another one off of a casting that you have drilled apart, you know, that you're just using for something else, you know, scrap, and glue that on. But the point I'm trying to make is, some of these, this one will, this is 1974, like I said, will snap and go roll forward to where you can get in there and get that clean. Because look at how clean that came with just a little bit of soap and a gentle toothbrush action. But don't, I'm trying to tell you this so you don't break your steering wheel off. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And there's a lot of flashing on this steering wheel that I may try to scrape off with a razor knife later on. You can see that right there. But I'm going to put it in the designated box, let it dry. It's finally time. Let's put some sealer on here. I'm going to use Autoborn Air White Sealer because I really want this yellow to pop. Anytime I use a light color, I try to use a light color sealer or primer. But I'm just going to lay on a tack coat like normal. Nothing fancy. It just gives a little bit of a bonding agent to the body for the next layer wet coat to stick to. And then I'll come back and put on a medium coat and a wet coat, and that'll be it for the primer. Well, it's that time to paint my unicorn. This is the one that started the channel. Yes, sir. We're going to paint her up. I did a real thin coat of primer on this just because I didn't want to lose any details or get any runs. And you can actually see some toning coming through the primer. It's weird. Mr. Paint's Wicked had told me that it doesn't matter how much you sand these cars or whatever, you can get rid of the toning, but it comes right back. So if it has it to start, it's going to have it when you're done. And he told the truth. Right there is I can see it. But what we're using is the Redline Shop School Base Yellow, because that's pretty much what they used in the day. And I have it mixed 6:1 per their recommendations. That should be plenty. 6 parts paint, 1 part hardener. And I'm going to put on a light coat to start with, and then we'll come back and build it up. I've never used their paint before, so I don't know how it's going to lay, how it's going to look, none of that stuff. There's a nice light tack coat. Now let's build it up. Starting to take shape, ain't it? Let that dry for just a minute. Get this firewall. There we go. And then we'll hit it again. Took a flash by hitting it with some air. Like I said, I've never used the Redline Shops paint before, so I've heard good things, I've heard bad things. Don't know. That's why we're giving it a try. All the paint comes from the same place anyway. Whenever you see it in those little bottles like that, that's Bright Vision. That's all it is Bright Vision paint. And a little bit more of a wet coat this time. And she is starting to really look good. I'm going to set it over here and let it dry for just a minute, and we'll be back. Now, one thing I've noticed about using this paint, it does not have a high hide capability like house paint does. You know how you put one coat on and it hides? You have to build this up in layers. I put one tack coat on, as you seen. Then I came back with a medium wet coat, and then I put that last coat on. And it looks really good. I'm going to put one more nice wet coat on to try to get rid of some of that grittiness, and I know that'll level and go away as the car dries. But look how good this thing's going. But you can see just a little bit of that toning right there in that door that I was telling you about. So this isn't a really high hide kind of paint. You have to build it up. But yeah, she's looking gorgeous. Looking gorgeous. There's one body defect right there that you can see right in that where the glass goes. But it is what it is. We're going to put another coat on here. We're going to hit it with a nice wet coat and see what happens. That looks beautiful, guys. Absolutely beautiful. I love that color. I am so glad to see this thing starting to come back to life. That's going to do it. I'm gonna leave it out here and let it dry because it's a nice 72, 73 degree day, real low humidity. I'll put my cover over it like I always do. Make sure the cap is on here. I'll cover it up like I always do and leave that up so it lets the gases escape as it dries. And we still have the base and the wheels to do, and the engine and some detail work, and this bad boy will be finished. So we'll see it next step. Look at this. Look at that. Ooh, it's taking shape. She is looking beautiful. That yellow's popping. But it's that time. We got to put some decals on it, and here they are. I've had these decals for probably 10 months now. But it's time. We're going to cut these bad boys out and put them on. But this is the original ones that this car would have come with back in 1974. This is a replica that Second Chance Redline sells. So let's get them cut out. Now, I'm not trying to cut exact, but I am trying to cut pretty close on this particular car, just because it is a restoration and it's for my personal collection. I really want it to look as good as it can look. So I'm taking my time. I'm going along. I'm cutting as close as I can without cutting into the decal itself, because once you do it, it won't look right. It won't be the same. So I'm not cutting exact, but I am cutting very close. Let's test fit it and see how it's going to look. I can see right away that it's going to have to sit a little lower than what it's supposed to, because if I raise it up to where it follows the fender line, you can see a lot of the door sticking down below it, and I know that it's supposed to go down to the bottom of the door. So we're just going to have to work with it. And I'm going to use the micro set. I'm going to put it on first. I'm going to wet the whole side of the car. This does several things. It gives lubrication for the decal to slide around on, and it also helps the adhesive properties, the glue. It helps it stick to the car better all over. because whenever you use decals, sometimes you'll get an air pocket or something in there, and the adhesive might not have been on correct on the back. You know, there's so many variables and variations that this will really help it stick. And I just take it, hold it in the water for about 8 to 10 seconds, and I constantly move it around in my thumb, in between my fingers, to see if it is loose, and then I'll just take it and slide it on the car like so. You get it as close as you can to what you want, and then just move it around. And once you're happy with about where it's at, take a Q-tip and try to blot out some of the water, the excess water. And that gets rid of the water, because if you don't, when the water dries, it'll leave an air bubble. So you want to try to get all that out that you can. And like I said, I'm constantly moving it around until I get it where I want it. Constantly squeegeeing it down so it doesn't move when I do the other side. It'll hold it. And, you know, I'm trying to get it exactly where I want it, where I'm happy with it at least. And yeah, just get all the water out of it I can. Get it to lay down flat. And as you can see, I've got it down to where it's at the bottom of the door, but it really needs to go up some. But, you know, depending on what month, what day, and all that stuff the cars are made, no one set of decals is going to fit every single car, if that makes sense. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute when I do the hash marks, because I'm not happy with the hash marks at all. But I'm trying to get the decal where I want it, and that creates a little small wrinkle in the decal, so I'm trying to move it around and work it out to where there's not a wrinkle in it. And then I get all the bubbles out of it. I get all the water out. And that's all you can do, because like I said, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to fit perfect, because depending on the day of the week, what shift it is and everything, you know, what crew's doing it, the actual cars could have been made differently, different size. Well, I'm going to do the same thing for the hash marks now. And the hash marks go up to right in here, and they're supposed to line up with the back angle of that window. But the angle is way off. So if you ever decide to do one of these cars, I strongly suggest cutting it, putting it up there, because the hash marks are supposed to be straight, and the angle is supposed to meet the window. So I strongly recommend you cutting it, put it up there, and recut the angle, because it's just not right. You'll see here in a second. I'm putting it to where the angle's right and with the window, and you can see how cockeyed those decals are. They're shooting up to the moon. So I'm going to use my Q-tip and everything and continue to mess with it, and I'm going to find the middle ground. They're not going to be perfectly level and straight, but they're also not going to be so far. See how off they are? They're not going to be so far off. Let's get these wheels out, because I've got to work on this base. Trying to get the phone focused. There we go. But as you see, I've just got the standard 2 tabs front and back, and I'm going to use this battery operated Dremel that Mr. Brummett sent me. And we are going to go to town on these. Now, I'm not going to try to ground them all the way. I just want to hold it at an angle and try to get the tip of the actual cutting portion of the die grinder down in there. And when I think I got it close, I'll flip it around, hit it from a different angle. But you don't want to try to do it all at once, because you're just asking for trouble if you do that. You want to do it a little bit, try to pull the wheels out, turn around, do a little bit, try to pull the wheels out. And you just keep doing this until eventually they come right out. And then what that does, it opens it up even more so that you can get your die grinder in and get all the way down to the bottom, so that when you put the new wheels in, they will sit flat, they will sit level, and there will be no issues. So that's all you want to do. You want to do a little bit of a time until they finally pop out. And then do the other side. But as you can see, I'm going back right here. I'm going to go in a little bit more at that same angle. That takes it all the way down to the very bottom. And when I go to put the new wheels in, they will sit flush. I will have no issues at all. Let's break the CLR out. Ooh, that's a little low. I got to add some more to it. But I'm going to drop the base in. As you can see, it's got a little bit of discolorization from the paint and everything. So, plus some oxidation. So we're going to try to get that off. But let's pour in some CLR, top it off. And This is like watching paint dry, so let's speed it up to about 400% and watch the magic start to happen. But as it sits here, you see it start foaming and everything. I'm going to leave it in this time because of, you know, it's a little dirty with the paint and everything. I was hoping to break it loose. So I left it in for 5 minutes. Normally I would only leave it in for 3 minutes. You can take it out after so long, agitate it with a toothbrush or whatever you want to use, and then drop it back in for, you know, a couple more minutes. And that's actually what I did. But here we go. I've got it out. Looks pretty good. I'm not 100% satisfied with the paint removal. As you can see, there's a couple little flakes here and there. I could have used the wire brush on my Dremel and everything, but rather than do that, I figured that I would just do it like this, because I did, you know, this being my first restoration, full restoration, and this is the car that started my channel. I want to be as easy as I can. But I'm going to take a pick and I'm going to go to a few little flakes of paint that I found here and there. Very gently scrape it off. I'm not even digging hard enough to mess up to leave a scratch if I actually hit the base. So I'm just being really, really gentle with it. And I'm just going to do this until I'm satisfied. There's really not much on here. Now the magic. Good old Flitz. This, you know, everybody talks about how good this product is, and I'm here to tell you it is a very good product. You just take a little bit. That's all it takes. Just smear it on. And then you're going to take your Dremel with the, or whatever you're using, and with a buffing pad, and go to town. You don't have to apply any pressure. You just work it back and forth in circles, up and down, however you want to do it, however you need to do it, and it will start turning black. Once it starts turning black, you know it's working. But that's all we're going to do. We're going to try to hit every angle we can. Of course, you can't hit everything perfect. I mean, there's just some angles this will not go down into, but you'll never know it in the end because of the way everything works out and the way everything does and works. But I'm just trying to turn it and get every little nook and cranny that it will fit. And this stuff, I'm telling you, it works good. But I just want to do it outside because, number one, Cooper, I don't want him to get in any of this stuff because I don't know what it will do. But it was such a great afternoon. Like this 72, 73, I wanted to be outside doing this. So just keep working at it until I'm happy with it. Or at least I think I'm happy with it. And then we'll take another microfiber and wipe it off and see what we have. And at this point, you can, after you wipe it off, you can tell if you're going to need to do it again. But look at the difference after I wipe this off. I'll show you. I'll point it out. But just wipe it off and you'll see how good it's working or how not good it's working. But look at that. Is that not amazing or what? Just that little bit of work. Stuff works really good, I'm telling you. So now I'm just going to wipe it off, get that off, then I'm going to do the whole base, then I'm going to take a toothbrush, warm water, and a little bit of soap and clean it out, all the nooks and crannies. Okie dokie, let's throw some clear coat on this bad boy. I've been waiting for this day for a very, very long time. We'll be using 2K clear. I've got it thinned down with some automotive reducer, and I've got it mixed 4:1 per the manufacturer recommendations. But look how good this bad boy looks. Oh my goodness, looks really good without the clear. I'm not 100% satisfied with that roof. As you can see, it looks just a little bit gritty, but we're gonna do it. As always, a quick tack coat just to get everything flowing, to get everything on it. And it looks dull when you put it on like this, but it's supposed to. You can see it's not real shiny. It looks kind of matte finish looking. But that's what we're looking for, because now we want to go back and wet coat it. We're going to slow down our pass and go over it a couple times. And this will build up the clear to to where it's wet looking, see? Look how wet that is now. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. Oh yes. Oh yes. Look at that beauty. Holy cow. Sit over here and let it dry, and might have to touch it up, we'll see. Now, I've already clear coated the engine. I clear coated it with rattle can. And it's not quite as shiny as I was hoping it would be, but that's okay. That's okay, I don't mind. But the base turned out really nice. Look at that. So we're going to clear coat it too. But I'm going to use the 2K clear on this just because I want it to last. And the reason I'm clear coating it is because if you leave it bare like this, it's just going to retarnish. And it'll actually do it pretty quick. It won't take 50 years to do it again. It'll be a lot quicker. So I'm just going to do it like a regular car. Use some 2K clear on it. Nice quick pass. Let it flash for just a second. And this base isn't done perfect. As you can see on the left hand side, there's just a little bit of red, and there's a little bit of red over the heavy Chevy name right here. But I didn't want to do any more polishing because I didn't want to burn through the zinc, and I really couldn't get anything in there at that angle to do it. So I'm just going to leave that a little bit. I don't mind it. I honestly don't mind it. So we're just going to leave that a little bit. But we're going to do this just like a regular car. Nice wet coat now. And that should be it. As you can see, it's nice and glossy, and it's going to be well protected for a very, very long time. Well, it's that time. I'm getting everything laid out for final assembly. Got the base all done. Like I said, there's a little bit of discolorization there and a little bit there, but I didn't want to go any further. I was scared that I would burn through the zinc. But I clear coated it, so it's good and protected now. Got the new windshield. I heated it up just ever so slightly and reshaped it. Polished the engine up. Got it all nice and done. Got the new red line wheels to go on the car. But that little bit looks really good, doesn't it? I am really tickled with it. But with that stated, here is what we started with while I do final assembly. It's 1974 flying colors heavy Chevy. And I didn't even know it was that particular one. I thought it might have been one of the chrome ones or whatnot. But as I removed the red paint, it became more and more obvious that it was the flying colors. It was the yellow version, which, you know, I'm fine with. I'm happy with it. But I'd like to thank all of y'all for coming along on this journey. This is the one that started the channel for me and everything. learned this is what started me learning how to do these cars and everything. So I owe a lot to this car, and I wanted to make sure that my skill set level was good enough to do this car because, like I said, it started my channel. So thank you so very much for watching. Thank you for coming, and get out there and hunt. If you don't hunt, you can't find. Now let's look at the reveal. Here's the finished product.